Hey guys, Adam here from the Tint Academy. We're going to do a windshield prep and installation with Mirtek's new Chameleon Film. Now I really like this Chameleon Film because it blocks out UV, gives a nice look on this BMW. So come with me as we go through all the stages of how to prep and install this Chameleon Film from Mirtek. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to place this back into the car. We're going to do our outside prep. So if you ever watch our other videos, it's the exact same as doing a rear windshield. There's going to be a couple differences that you got to watch out for, specifically that we have the front dash here. So we need to make sure that it's covered. Our steps are outside prep, inside prep, lay the film, shrink the film, cut the film, do one more wet shrink, then we go into our install. So let's start off with our first outside prep. Now we're going to do our outside prep. So I'm going to spray the window. We're going to use a blue scrub pad just to make sure that we get any salt, dirt, debris off the window. Once I scrub it out, we're going to use our squeegee and squeegee out all that excess slip solution that we're using to make sure it's clean. Now we've done our cleaning, we'll do our outside prep. So we're just going to use a dryer sheet and do a light spray on the window. Then I'm going to soak out this dryer sheet. We want the soap to come from this dryer sheet onto the actual glass. We want this to be completely dry, so when I go through my outside shrink and cut, it's going to leave a barrier of soap between the film and the glass so I can manipulate, move fingers, and get a nice shrink on it. Now, this has to be completely dry. You don't want any wet spots on the glass. So while I'm doing when we're letting this dry, I'm going to do my inside prep. Now, the number one thing to make sure with this inside prep is you want to protect this dash. So I'm going to use a dash towel and I'm going to use a piece of soak rope so we don't have any excess water going into the vents or going into that dash system that can actually affect that dash system. So let's go do our inside prep. So we just did our inside prep. We just sprayed. We put in our soak rope so none of that water gets into the dash of the console. We did our inside prep, which is spray, scrub, spray, squeegee. Now this time, this is completely dry. You can see that soap is going to create that barrier between the film and the glass. So we're ready to lay the film. So I'll take my Chameleon Film. I'm just going to lay it across the glass here. Now we got it on the glass, we're just do a rough cut. We want as much of this film on the glass as possible. So in a rough cut, anything that's hanging off the glass. Now we're going to set up our pattern. We want to develop an H, so this is going to create 4-quadrant inner window. I'll take my piece of film up, hold my hard card down, and then pull it across. As I pull it across, we're going to push all this down. So we made a horizontal line across, and come a vertical line this way. Once I made that, I'm going to come up through the center and down through the center. So we made 2 quadrants here, quadrant 1, quadrant 2. Now I'll go to the other side and do the same thing. This is going to create 4 small windows, so I'm going to focus just on shrinking those windows. Now we're going to start on this side here. So you can see we have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. My whole focus is just going to be on this 1 quadrant at a time. So now we're going to shrink, coming through and use about 3 to 5 seconds of heat and make sure everything is going to be sitting down here. Come back this way, a typewriter, getting all that film to sit out flat. It actually shrinks very, very nicely, very easily. It's sitting right down on the glass. A lot of Chameleon films that I've worked with in the past don't shrink this nicely. They're typically thicker films, so they're hard to shrink. You got to add a lot more heat. As you can see, I'm not forcing the film, and it's sitting down on the glass very nicely. This is a very nice product, the easy shrink. It doesn't matter if you're a long-time tinter or you just want to, or you're new and you want to add this into your summer system here. You can see this shrinks actually beautifully across the glass. I'm not adding a lot of pressure, not adding a lot of heat. We're sitting there 4 to 5 seconds. Now this quadrant is totally shrunk. I'm going to move on to my next one. So now we've done our first initial shrink, we'll do our cut. So if you come in a little bit closer here, you can see that there's a dot matrix. I want to cut this about 1/4 inch past that dot matrix. Now the one reason is, you see I creased a little bit up here and did that purposely. We want you guys to have excess around. A lot of guys that use straight plotters, if I were to plot this, meaning we have a computer cut program that gives us our exact pattern, it's not going to give us any room for error. So I forced a couple creases off the top here just to show that I'm going to actually cut this off. So we're just going to trace this around that dot matrix about 1/4 inch. So before I do that, I'm going to have a fresh blade, snap it, and I'm going to make that cut. So now we've just cut it. We've cut our pattern out, that 1/4 inch past the dot matrix. Now we're going to do a second shrink. This is going to be a wet shrink. Now my issue that a lot of YouTube and stuff like that, they don't do this step. We always recommend to do the second shrink. It eliminates any chance of getting fingers during your install and gives you a better shrink. So we always want to do the first shrink as a dry shrink, second shrink as a wet shrink. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to spray underneath it, so we can get that wetness on the glass. Come around the other side and we'll do that as well. Great. Once I've done, remake my H pattern. So with my hand, without a squeegee, push it across into that H. Now I'm going to reinforce with my hand and push all that excess slip solution. We want a nice tight fit across that windshield. You can see I shrunk it pretty well there. Now I'm going to come across up this way. Push all that extra slip. So now I can just attack any fingers that may come out so we get a better shrink. Now if you do back windshields, you do front windshields, and you're having an issue with getting fingers on your install, you can only shrink it a third time just to make sure that you don't get any fingers while you're doing your install. You can see you have a little finger right at the center there, which is perfect. Now here I have a couple fingers coming out on the horizon, so I'm just going to push these fingers up this way. You can see I'm pushing it up there. So move the finger from here and coming up that way across. So now I have all that slip solution out. I have a few fingers that are coming across here. So during my install, I'm just going to focus and attack all these fingers. If I were to go past this step, I would get this giant finger on my install, which we wouldn't want. So now I'm just coming across my film to see if we have any fingers. I have one that's still there. So we're just going to work across, check if we have any fingers coming up through the film. So now we're ready for our install. The install method we're going to do here is what's called the reverse roll. It's the easiest way to do it. So reverse roll, I've already inside prepped it one more time. Spray, squeegee, spray. So with my inside prep here, I'm going to take off the liner. Just halfway, and as I'm taking it off, I'm going to spray it. Now I'm going to lay in that liner back down so I can bring it inside the car without getting any dirt on this piece of film. Now the one difference between a chameleon film and a normal film is that it picks up dirt a lot easier and shows up dirt a lot easier. So we want to really make sure that it is clean and we transport it properly. Now I'm just going to roll it up, then we'll bring it inside to install it. So now we got on the glass. Before I take my squeegee to it, we want to do a little bit of soap and then push all these big pockets out with my hand. I don't want to take a squeegee to it quite yet, just because it's going to create some creasing and stuff like that into the film. So once I got it onto the glass, I'm going to do my H pattern again, very lightly. I'm going to come straight down and push all that excess slip solution down. Extra slip solution, following our H pattern. Now we did our light squeegee, do our hard squeegee. I'm going to I'm going to spray it down one more time, do a hard squeegee. Then we'll take it outside, make sure that we don't have any dirt. It's always best to look at it from the outside in natural sun, if you have any kind of dirt or stuff in the film, so we can address it right away. So we'll spray it down, hard squeegee, wipe everything down, wipe down the front windshield, and we'll take it outside and take a look at it.